On this week's Political Figure episode, we've got the love child of Igor and Lex Luthor, Scott DesJarlais. Now, Scott is a man of many mysteries, first of which is how the fuck you get DesJarlais out of all of these goddamn letters. The other is how he keeps managing to convince women to make just horrible life decisions. And how he continues to convince Tennesseans to make horrible life decisions, although to be fair, that does seem to be a lot easier. Scotty was born February 21st, 1964 in Des Moines, Iowa, and then moved to Sturgis, North Dakota, because apparently Des Moines wasn't terrible enough. He got a bachelor's in Chem and Psych from the University of South Dakota, and his doctorate of medicine from the University of South Dakota School of Medicine. So yeah, the dude's a doctor, which will get more mind-blowing as this goes on, but remember, just because you're a doctor doesn't necessarily mean you're smart. You can be damn near brain dead. Look at Ben Carson. In 1993, Scotty moved to Tennessee to practice medicine. Now, at some point, Scotty got married. I don't know if that was in South Dakota or Tennessee, but what they say about the Dakotas is there is a pretty girl hiding behind every tree. So when he got to Tennessee, he decided to fuck everything he could pressure into bed, whether it was his wife or not. And he was chief of staff of the hospital. He was fucking patients, the pharmaceutical representative girl, like 3 or 4 coworkers. And that's just the ones we know about because he had to admit it under oath during his divorce proceedings. Who knows how many others there were, but this guy clearly gets fucked more at work than most people get fucked at an orgy. Now, normally, people's extramarital affairs are none of my goddamn business. Whatever they do in the bed with whoever they do it with, as long as it's consensual, is something I don't care about. But these particular affairs get much, much worse. See, around 2009, Scotty as a hoe decided to become a member of the Tea Party and start thinking about running for office. And then in 2010, he ran for the U.S. House of Representatives and won because people from Tennessee are apparently fucking stupid. First off, homie's from Iowa and grew up in South Dakota. Like, what are you doing? I thought you were all like, oh, we don't like outsiders around here, especially them northern ones. He's some hoity-toity ass doctor. I didn't think y'all believed in medicine. You just rubbed some ivermectin on it and walked it off. Or, died. Usually you die. But, if you're lucky and you don't, that's how I thought you guys did doctors down there. And then, of course, there's the hypocrisy. You want people of family values and everything, and this is where the affair thing is bad, but it gets much, much worse. And, to be a Republican, you have to hate women, which he does an excellent job at. I mean, 10 out of 10, no notes on his hating women credentials. He abuses the shit out of them, both emotionally and physically. He was illegally prescribing them opiates to get them to sleep with him, clearly abusing his positions of power to also get them to sleep with him. So, that on point. But also, you've got to hate women's rights to bodily autonomy and believe they're not allowed to it because you're pretending to love Jesus for some reason. Jesus never actually said that, but you guys like to pretend that he did and then use that as justification to hate women. So he came out as a very anti-abortion Tea Party Republican, which is first off just dumb as a doctor. If you're a doctor, you should know that, abortion care is medical care that is necessary in the majority of circumstances where it's provided. And even if it's not, it's none of your goddamn business. But if you're gonna come out as a super anti-abortion Republican man of family values, you probably shouldn't have pressured women into abortions before. And when I say women, I do mean multiple of them, multiple times. And when I say pressured, I mean at gunpoint. And then if you are going to do those things, it's probably not wise to record phone conversations talking about doing that. See, Richard Dixon, everything here, threatened his wife into having multiple abortions by threatening her with a gun and threatening to commit suicide by sitting with the barrel of that gun in his mouth for 3 hours. He also physically and emotionally abused and manipulated her in other ways to get her to do things like have abortions, and then talked about it on the phone and recorded it. And then the papers got the transcript of that recording and released it. And then he claimed that he wasn't the one who recorded the conversation and tried to play the victim by saying that a third party recorded it because, yeah, that was clearly the problem here is who recorded the conversation, not that you had a conversation about how you held your wife at gunpoint and forced her to get an abortion. But then in later investigations, it turns out that, yeah, it's pretty positive that he's the one who actually did record the conversation like a fucking dumbass. But hey, it didn't stop there, because when he knocked up some of the many other women he was cheating on his wife with, he pressured them into getting abortions too, because, you can't have them illegitimate children running around. What would the church folk think? So yeah, good job, Tennessee. Just excellent. Excellent work right out of the gate. And this dude got elected in 2010. He went from fucking everything he could find at the hospital to fucking a whole goddamn state, and really the entire country, because he's a U.S. representative. And he's been doing it for 25 fucking years. What is wrong with you, Tennessee? Now, after being questioned about his transgressions, he's like, God has forgiven me, and the people of Tennessee should consider doing the same. God gave you cancer, motherfucker. It's just unfortunate in this particular case that he gave you a kind that modern medicine figured out a way to beat. Modern medicine, mind you, that was paid for by socialized healthcare we don't get, that you voted against us having, but we have to pay for you to have, to beat your cancer that most of us wish would have taken you home. Because, you know, if Lucifer had lulled you down low a little earlier, then you wouldn't have been able to support total abortion bans that have prevented women from getting the healthcare that you forced other women to get because you didn't want to deal with the consequences of your own fucking actions. You wouldn't have been able to be one of the 16 pieces of shit to vote against the Allies Act that went on to help allies who helped us in Afghanistan get out of Afghanistan so they didn't get murdered. You would have been able to be one of the 14 pieces of shit who voted against making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Seriously, how are you on the wrong side of fucking everything? Even when all of the rest of your Republican colleagues are not on the wrong side of it, how are you still on the wrong side of it? He's voted repeatedly to use our tax dollars to send weapons to Israel so we're funding genocide in Gaza. He supports abducting brown people and throwing them in concentration camps. He hates gay people. He hates trans people. He's overly worried about what is in children's pants. He joined efforts to try to overturn the 2020 election. He supported the big bad bill that is stripping members of his districts of health care, children of food, cutting housing assistance and critical infrastructure that people in his district rely on to survive. He has supported the tariffs that are crippling the rural communities he represents. And he knows that everything he's doing is fucking the people of his district without their consent, which is, you know, a favorite pastime of his apparently. Which is why he never holds town halls, although by his own admission, if he does hold town halls or talk to constituents, he loses votes. Seriously, he got quoted saying that, although it does make sense when he does shit like tell little girls at a town hall meeting that he believes their dad should be deported. Nothing more endearing than bullying children in public, am I right? But anyway, Tennessee. Two and a half decades of this dude is certainly, you know, a choice. Not one most people with fully functional brains would make, but certainly a choice. That said, just after a quarter century, and I'm going out on a limb here, but maybe it's time to, you know, try something new. Maybe, just spitballing here, somebody who doesn't force women to get abortions at gunpoint and then turn around and be like, you are not allowed to get abortions. Just a thought. And hey, since I'm a solutions guy and I don't like to criticize without offering, you know, some alternative, may I present to you Victoria Broderick, who is notably free of sex, drug, and abuse scandals. She's just a working class person who does normal working class person stuff, like not bribe people into having sex with her by offering them drugs. And despite the fact that she is a gun owner, I looked and I couldn't find a single instance of her pointing her guns at people to force them into doing things that they didn't want to do. So that's pretty cool, you know? Then on top of all of that, she's actually got some solid policy plans. Like, she's not taking corporate PAC money, which is cool. She doesn't believe in taking your money and sending it to people in other countries so they can use it to blow up children, which is cool. She wants you to be able to have healthcare and afford it, so like Scotty, you also don't have to die from cancer. She wants to make sure that your kids have better schools to go to, because let's be real, Tennessee's education system is fucking awful. I mean, obviously, the people down there are voting for Scott. Tennessee also has the worst voter turnout in the country, worse than, like, Guam. It might not be worse than Guam, I didn't actually look it up, but it's bad. Like, they were 51st at one point, maybe 48th at now, I don't know. I'm past the point of fact-checking tonight. Okay, I gotta get up early and plow, and it's late, and I'm down here in my basement doing this because it's blizzarding outside, and sometimes I just don't feel like going and fact-checking one thing or the other. But the voter turnout's bad, okay? And that is a fact that I know for a fact. And it's bad in part because Tennessee has been rigged to make it really hard for people to vote and make it so many of their votes don't matter, and she wants to change that too. But to do all that, she needs you guys to support her, get her message out, and most importantly, vote in the midterms for Victoria Broderick. So volunteer for her, send her money, share this stuff, and let the world know about her because she's pretty awesome. And I know this because I've had the honor of meeting her in person and hanging out with her a little bit, and she was just on the podcast. So you can check her out on the most recent episode of the Let Them Be Toast podcast, and then you can get to work helping her win, because again, Tennessee, why, Scott? Why? Like, I get that you guys are more monogamous with Republicans and Scott has been monogamous with anyone ever, but like, this dude was really the best Republican you could find. All I'm saying is check Victoria Broderick out. She's awesome. And while she clears your current bar by leaps and bounds, literally anything is better than this. Right?